Welcome to Brightly, You Radiant Being, the show that wildly recognizes, encourages, and invests in the radiance we all carry so you can shine your brightest. Each episode, we share soul driven advice and topics to help you live more brightly in mind, body, and spirit. Through sharing our experiences, friendship, and passions, we hope to impact you to step more brightly into yourself inch by inch.
I love it. I
Hi.
love it. Hi, Tracy. Hey, we're looking pretty naturey,
Oh,
pretty farmery.
yeah, this is my Farmer John look. I'm a pretty trendy
I
Tracy
don't,
farmer, but it's
yeah, it's
the
pretty
closest I could
trendy.
get.
No, I think it's wonderful. And this is one of the hats I wear out in my garden when I'm
Oh,
gardening.
really? Did you make it?
Yeah.
Is that knit? For people
No, I
for people
did not.
listening, not watching, we put on our most festive of summer hats. I have a straw hat on, and Amy, what is yours made of?
I think it's just straw too. It's a loose
Colored.
weave.
Yeah.
And yep, it's kind of khaki and green and tan. And yep, this is what I wear when I'm out in my garden. I wear it other places too, but
And the reason why we're in costume, so to speak, I don't actually wear white when I farm, so that was a lie when I said this is my Farmer John outfit. This is my poser farmer outfit. The wheel of the year has continued to turn,
it
and
just keeps turning.
keep going. So typically they say August 1st, but when you go by the cosmos or like the stars, it's more like August 6th or 7th when you're thinking of that midway point between the solstice and the equinox. In the northern hemisphere, it's what they call Lammas or Lunasa, which is the god, Celtic god Lu or Luna, I'm presuming, and it's a Gaelic festival marking the beginning of the harvest season. So typically in August, all those things that you're planting in the spring, sometimes even in the winter, if you're like us in Minnesota and you're planting in your basement or in your windowsills, just trying to get that growing season started as soon as you
Yeah.
can. For me, it's a little less literal. I know you just shared you have a garden, but for me, it's about those goals that I planted, those little tendrils of my heart that were lit aflame with Yule and then kind of planted with Imbolc and what's May Day? I always get May Day wrong.
Nothing.
Is that
Ostara.
coming to me?
No.
Oh yeah, there's
Os-
Ostara, and yeah, I always want to say Maybon, but that's the next one. But yeah, so anyways, so it's from the August 1st, it's just over 6 weeks until the fall equinox, and that just makes me go, oh my god, it's Lammas. What am I doing with my life? Oh, so if you listen to this show, that's a weekly thing on Thursdays. I always, oh my God, it's Thursday. Another week has gone by. What are you doing with your life? And not to catastrophize, the passage of time because it's a social construct. It's just I'm forced to follow it with my day job. So for me, my birthday is at the end of August, and I typically use that as a personal retreat, my own personal new year. That's really when my goal setting kind of begins. But so in August, as vacations, are starting to wind down and we're starting to get less and less sun and kind of preparing in my head for school to start, right? Or for
yeah.
our employer, we tend to have, summer Fridays, right? A lot of 3-day weekends are happening. Not as many big projects are getting started, but then September hits and it's suddenly you have so many meetings you can't think straight, right? And projects are starting to move a lot faster.
Mm-hmm.
So for me, this is kind of time to check in on that stuff I planted. Am I doing it? What's going on? Why aren't I doing it? Do I still want to do it? What else can I do? What else have I done? Because the new year is approaching, right? Like the holidays are coming. Like, October, November, December. Don't they come like the burrs or whatever? Because there's just so many holidays and so much going on. So, I mean, not to get like I always want people to be in the here and now, like definitely be in your present moment. But I have a book about the Sabbats, the Lewin's Sabbats Almanac, is kind of where I get a lot of my information on these, or my go-to for inspiration and ideas for this time of year. But in the cosmic sway portion where they talk about what is going on in the stars, Ivo Dominguez Jr. says, the time is now. Shake off doubts, dream big, and get to work on making dreams happen.
Ooh, I love that. I especially love that coming off of our last episode with abundance and the abundance mindset and abundant universe. I
Mhm.
love that.
And to me, when the harvest is beginning, right? You're still harvesting well into September, and in some places into
Oh,
October, right?
yes.
Isn't that where
Yes.
the different names of the
Hmm.
moons come from? Is because sometimes you are still harvesting by the light of the moon.
Yes.
But so I like it because let's say you took a pause, break, life got in the way, stuff you weren't anticipating. Maybe like me, you just lost sight of it, right? Like you weren't as dedicated and as on top of it. Like you still got time, but the time is now, right? Like you have to make it happen. It's not just gonna happen. Like things don't harvest
Okay.
themselves.
I love that. You still have time, but the time is now.
It's now.
I
It's
got
right now.
time. I got right now.
I got right
Right
now. I
now.
have the here and now. But like the harvest, like the seeds you plant, those crops don't harvest themselves. If you don't go out and do the work to like bring in that abundance, you lose it. It
Really
dies. It
good
goes to nature
point.
or somebody else, like
Yes.
you still have actions to take. Like it's not enough to plant the seed. You have to
Yeah.
go and reap that harvest, right?
That's a really good point, and I had never actually made that leap.
So for you, I mean, this time of year, August, what are you thinking about?
Well, okay, because once again,
What's the cycle of Amy? Like we all like I'm this is following a calendar year,
yeah.
obviously, but
So typically, this would be like the start of, and my garden is weird this year, but I
oh yeah,
will be
constant
harvesting.
96-degree
Yeah.
temperature.
I I will be harvesting, but also there's many things that I won't be harvesting yet, but I will be harvesting. But for me, the interesting thing is August 1st is actually my mom's birthday. So of course we have to talk about my mom. Um,
Of
so
course, she was born on a Sabbath, like some
right,
magical, mystical
of
lady.
course, of course. So of course I always think about her at this time of year. I mean, I think about her all the time, but prevalent when I think about August 1st, I think about her. And I think about, so what that does to me though is say, think about, like, I think about all the things that she's accomplished, but not just accomplished as in, she wrote these books, she gave these speeches, she did this thing, but also like she birthed four babies and had grandchildren and great grandchildren who adored her, who loved her, who she loved to, um, she'd spend time with and be the center of attention to. And
Well, she was a Leo.
he was definitely a Leo. um but everybody, adored her. And so I think about her. But if I'm not being specific with my mom, August is for me kind of the wrapping up of summer. Now, I know I always like to say summer goes to September 21st, right? You are still in summer in September, but there's no kid going to school who's going to believe you. So August
Summer's a
is
state of
like,
mind, right? Like it's a
yes.
feeling. Like there are the dates and there's the meteorological, and the
Yes.
cosmic sway of where the sun and the earth and how it's all positioned. And then there's
Mm-hmm.
that mental state, like we were just talking
Yes.
about in episode 30 for abundance.
Yeah.
Right?
So August for me is sort of the wrapping up, like what needs to be taken care of still, what can I work towards? Um, are all the school things out at Target yet? Because I don't care if I don't have kids in school. I've got a granddaughter who is in school. I'll be buying myself all kinds of stuff.
I'm not gonna lie. I was like, I don't have children, and I will be perusing for my new notebooks this year.
Right? You got to get those notebooks.
So about your mom, if you don't mind.
No.
So she's very accomplished in many different ways. And I'm wondering, was she someone who, had broad goals in mind and just snatched up opportunities and was just always just go, go, go working? Or was she a sit down, these are my goals, these are my SMART goals, and I'm achieving it by the boop, boop, boop. And maybe opportunities still came along, but like, I'm going to write a
Mhm.
book by this date. And then she sat down and did the work and achieved all the milestones.
Yeah, that's really interesting. I feel like she was both. I feel like for the most part, she was, I'm going to develop these goals. I'm going to figure out what I need to do to get to them. And she was very much like, I have to write for this amount of time today. This is what I'm working on my book. I'm doing this. And I tell you what, if you were doing something for her, you better be doing something for her, because she'd be like, where is that thing that you were going to do for me?
That
It's like,
that whole idea of, do what you say you're gonna do when you say you're gonna do it, she held you to it because that's
right.
her
But
life.
even, well, she kind of held you to more than that. You could say you're going to do it by a certain time, and she'd be looking like maybe a week early for it. So, but I also think that she was open to um, things that came about. But she was very much um, I think that very much like, these are the goals that I'm setting. But I also think that it's interesting, and I hate to say anything about anyone when they're no longer alive and can't say to me, no, that's not right. But I have a feeling that my mom had a constant push and pull with certain things, with trying to maintain an abundant mindset, that kind of thing, because she did grow up during the Depression. She did live in an orphanage.
She was
She
you
did
gotta make it
lose,
happen.
right.
You
So
don't wanna
she,
lose out on opportunities.
well, I'm just saying that she came from lack,
Mm.
like a very lack childhood, even though she had fun and there were things that she could talk about that seemed great. So I feel like for her, it was a push and pull.
Well, and that was
However,
definitely an era where it was very evident that the harder you worked, the more likely you were to survive,
yeah.
right? That you had to be willing to do absolutely everything in your power
Hmm.
to get the tiniest of scraps, right? It forced a scarcity mindset, which forces a
Hmm.
hustle in people, right? And she
Yeah.
turned that hustle though into abundance. I don't feel like any of the work that you talk about her doing was stuff she felt like she had to do. It was
Oh
stuff
no,
she
and
felt
she
good
loved it.
to do.
Like, she loved what she did. She loved writing the book. She especially loved public speaking. So she stepped into that 100%. Yeah.
Well, thank you for sharing because not to be that person in the middle of the lazy, hazy days of summer to point this out, but there's about 152 days until the new year as of August 1st. And so we're
Oh.
about two-thirds of the way done with the year. And the reason why I bring that up is I lose sight of that so easily. I set broad goals, I set many goals, and then I just like to live with the energy and the flow. And then before you know it, I'm at the end of another year and I didn't do the thing again. And that doesn't mean I
Yeah.
didn't do anything, but like there are some goals I keep carrying over. And when I reflect on it, I do want it. But then because I'm not super on top of like a SMART goal or like that, I'm going to do this for this amount of time. I let the flow of life happen. I get to a point in the year where I'm like, oh no. Right? Like I still have
Yeah.
time, but now is the time.
Now is the time. So
Now
are you thinking that you need to look at your goals in a different way, to like maybe make one or two more of a SMART goal, or what are you thinking?
So, I like to say that I do like these mid-year reviews and check-ins and stuff, and I
Yeah.
try and base them around the Sabbats. But what I found is, especially this year, the solstice for me, I didn't want to get into like the day-to-day nitty-gritty. I wanted to be in the magic of it, right? In the
Yeah.
ritual and the celebration
Absolutely.
and in the
Yes.
gratitude and just celebrating the sun. But then now, as like we've reached that peak sunlight, and now light's starting to dwindle, sadly enough, at least in the northern hemisphere. I'm feeling compelled to do that checkpoint. Not necessarily be like, oh, I'm preparing for my resolutions, but kind of do kind of a mid-year review 2/3 of the
Mm-hmm.
way of the year and see, not only recognize what have you done, right? Like maybe it wasn't on your list, but maybe you've gone through some things, maybe you have achieved stuff you didn't set out to achieve that were pretty cool.
Yeah.
Um, but also like, what do I still want what I wanted at the start of the year? Is it maybe okay that stuff fell off? Like giving myself that grace of that, of like, hey, you didn't do it because you weren't that into it, which is fine, but then you got to let it go, right? And make room
Yeah.
for something else.
Yeah.
But then also, what am I ready to harvest? What seeds did I plant that I need to just do a little bit more work on, right? Like what's near the end, but like I have to come full circle on. And then, what took root, what could have used more love, what became like a weed in my life, either intentionally or unintentionally, right? Like,
Okay. I love these. I
right?
love this nature analogy.
I
I
tried
love
really
it.
hard. I'm glad. but
I
so,
love it.
so to me, it's just kind of looking at how I'm spending my time. And I think I've talked about this in the past. Like I'm actually more driven, more meditative, more it just kind of internal focused, the equinox, between the equinoxes, so between the fall equinox and the spring equinox, because I
Mhm.
like the darkness.
Yeah.
I like doing things out of sight. Like I've shared I don't like to struggle in public, and sometimes goals are struggles, right? And then also just physically for me, the sun is kind of draining for me. Like in some ways it's energizing and more people are out and I'm feeling more extroverted, but it
Yeah.
exhausts me. I don't know if it's my Irish German heritage or what, but like I just want a stormy rainy day sometimes so that I can get stuff done, so that I can go in, so that I'm not always feeling
That's
go
so
go go.
interesting. Yeah.
But yeah, usually I feel a little bit more drained in the summer. And so I like to, like I said, the more lazy, hazy days, but we're approaching that September mark when maybe it's just because I did start school every September for so many years while I'm in
Hmm.
grad school now, that my brain is just used to like, okay, this is when we pick it up and go. And I want to like embrace that and I want to be ready for the energy. Like, what is
Yeah.
it pick up and go, right? Like I'm not picking up notebooks for science class. I'm picking up notebooks for my goals.
So this is sort of like this time of the year is like, all right, now we need to get serious about this stuff.
Yeah, I mean, especially if you're putting, those calendar year deadlines on your goals or on yourself, if that's how you're reviewing your life is, like I
Yeah.
said, I have a birthday coming up. Am I who I want to be, right? Like going back to that
Yeah.
breaking up episode, my character, have I grown as a person? Have I learned new things? What do I want to do yet? And can I do it? Like, because some of the things that I want to do are seasonally based, right? Like, you can't say you wanna
Like
cross
what?
country ski in June,
Oh, okay.
right?
Right.
Like,
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
there's some stuff that you can't, like, if I say I wanna go out hiking more, for where I live in the world and my financial situation, I have to capitalize on August and September, right? Like, I mean, you can hike in the fall and the winter, but, you wanna see waterfalls, you gotta go when it's warm.
Yep.
So I don't know. So for you, like, have you reflected on your goals at all since setting them at the start of the year? Have you had any mid-year, midpoint check in?
So yeah, I was gonna do a mid-year. I was
Gonna.
gonna do a mid-year check-in. And then I realized, hey, Amy, you haven't done that mid-year check-in yet. So
It's
today, while
Lammas. What are you doing with your life?
what am I doing with my life? So while you were talking about this whole time, I'm like,
Rubbing.
oh crap. Oh geez. I'm over here desperately like picking at something on my finger, like this little nervous tick of
Sorry.
mine.
And I'm so sorry if I'm doing this to listeners. Like my point is
No,
just like, are you
no,
being intentional with your life? And if
I'm
not, is now the
happy.
time? Oh, good.
I'm happy that you're bringing this up because it said to me, oh, you need to quit bleeping around. Like you think you want to be an author and then you write like twice a month. Like that is not the way to be an author, right?
I mean, it's more the George R. Martin way of being an author, but
Yeah. I don't
it's not the
expect to be
Stephen King way of just writing
I do
and
not expect to be writing like either of those
publishing.
people, but what's weird is like I enjoy the act of doing it. I want it to be done. Why the heck am I not doing it?
Right? Like there's an aspect to me that really wants to be disciplined, but I haven't really found the thing I want to be disciplined at, right?
Ooh.
Like when I look at some of my goals, I'm like, yeah, these have been goals for a while, but no, they're still cooking, right? Like I'm not going to take them off the list, but I'm also not going to be mad for not progressing. But then I look at other areas of my life and I'm like, you could spend your time in better ways. Like
Yeah.
we have to, instead of, like, my goal right now is to figure out like how do you want to be spending your time, what do you want your goals to be, and it's really easy to let
So
those
your
moments
wait,
fly by.
your goal is to figure out what your goal should be.
Yes, I'm
And
very.
I'm not saying that. I think that that's brilliant because another thing that came to me while we were talking was, what's your other goals, Amy? What are those other goals that you were thinking about? And I'm like, what are my goals? What it's almost Lammas. What am I doing with my life?
And it's so easy too to get caught up in the setting of the goals, which we did, we did around the solstice. We did it for the show, right? I
Mm-hmm.
haven't taken any of the steps or answered any of the questions we asked. And so there are areas where I know I
Yeah.
could be doing the work and I need to
Yeah.
be doing the work. But then there are like just the bigger picture life questions where like it's I'm at an age where you have to make a goal and a plan for certain things if you want it to happen, right? And
Yeah.
it's not going to happen sitting on your couch, and the world has, opened up to a greater degree now. You can no longer be like, oh, it's quarantine, right? Like I now I, I need to see how I can expand existing goals. I need to see what opportunities are mine to grab.
Mm-hmm.
I in the past I've done typically like the last 100 days of the year is like a big goal push, right? Because you have like
Yes.
this number, people like hundreds. They've
Yeah.
done studies like you're more likely to achieve your goals if you start on a Monday or the first of a month or the first of a year, right? So for me, like
So
having that
funny.
countdown, right? Like I have on my calendar, I know
Mm-hmm.
how many days until my birthday. Like, and and in some degrees it's just like a fun countdown, like, hey, it's almost your day. And in other ways it's like, oh my God, it's your birthday. What are you doing with your life? Like but so then on the flip side of all that panic, catastrophizing, goal setting, I want to achieve things kind of opposite of what we just talked about in the last episode mindset.
Mhm.
I, the number one question I've been asking myself all year is, am I having fun? Is this enjoyable? Because I think that's a better
Such good
overarching
questions.
goal. Not
Yeah.
everything is going to be fun when it comes to goal setting, but your ultimate goal in life, like the end goal. Like let's say you want to lose weight. That's a really concrete goal a lot of people have. That's hard work, right? Like there's going to be a lot of stuff you give up, don't participate in, and just like sweat and tears. It's a
Mm-hmm.
literal hard work. But at the end of it, like what are you doing it for, right? Like, and you should be able to have fun on that journey. Like even when work is hard,
Yeah.
it can still be fun. Um,
Yes.
and so I think that's where at the beginning of the year I kind of was I'm not having fun in many areas of my life as I could, right? Like I want all 10 levels to be fun, not just
Yeah.
one or two. So are you having fun?
So, well, yeah, no, that's a really good question. And I think that when I am thinking about it, I'm having fun. And even there are times that I am very much aware of my happiness in the moment, right? So I can be sitting on my porch with my cup of coffee and my journal and just be so filled with gratitude to be in the space that I'm in at that moment. So that's not necessarily like fun in that moment, but I can be filled with gratitude for that moment. Um, then I think of like we went to a Saints game.
Local baseball.
Yeah, local baseball. It was it was a Father's Day present, and I got to tag along. So, but the funny thing is that like I feel like I'm the person who really wanted to go to the Saints game. And so I was all in on it, right? I just thought it was amazing and I had fun. And I tried not to get too down on all the pork commercials and things like that because the Saints mascot is an actual little, is a pig. But that's because St. Paul used to be called Pig's Eye. So the pig is their mascot, but Minnesota also has many pork producers. And I don't eat, neither of us eat meat.
Yeah.
So I was just like, just be in the moment. There's the fun pig, and someday you'll have a pig, and this is really fun. And so I did do that, and that was super fun. I try to find fun. It's okay. I saw my sister today, just kind of a spur of the moment thing. I saw my sister-in-law, my sister, my niece today. And my sister actually brought this up that her doctor asked her, "What do you do for fun?" And she was like, "Wait a minute. What do I do for fun?" Like, and then she started saying some things that she found fun that I was like, "That's fun." But guess what?
Different.
It's you don't get to judge what's fun for somebody else. I was just happy that she actually what did some things that were fun. And this also brings up my mother as well. My mom was going to write an article on fun, and she asked her her great granddaughter. She said, "Sophia," and I think Sophia was maybe 10 or 11 at the time. And she said, "Sophia, what do you do for fun?" And Sophia looked at her and said, "I do fun things." Like,
I hate people like that. It's
right?
like when you ask someone for advice, like, how do I do the thing? And they're like, well, you just do the thing. And I was like,
Right.
well, that works out for
But
you.
see, to a 10-year-old, it's like, what do you mean? What do I do for fun? I do the things that
I
are
just do
fun,
things that are fun. But also,
right?
like, that's like when the dictionary defines the word using the word, it's
Oh,
just the
right,
most infuriating
right,
thing.
right.
For a 10-year-old, yeah, there's
But I think that that brings up a really good point too, that sometimes you do have to cultivate the fun that you have during the day. And sometimes you have to work at that.
And so where I'm struggling right now is I want laugh out loud, memorable fun.
Yeah.
And during the pandemic, I was really struck by the idea of can you create that on your own and
Didn't you
why
get,
can't I?
yeah, didn't you like order games for one or something? What did you do with that?
I did. See, and that's just it. So there's like so many things that I do that sometimes it just, and especially during the social isolation that year, it
Yeah,
just made me
yeah.
feel lonely, right? And so that wasn't fun
Oh,
anymore. And so I didn't want to do it. But then I was just remembering like when I was younger, I used to play video games with myself and blast music, and then like run and jump over the couch and land on it like I'm a pole vaulter, like we're doing the high jump or something. And like those are just like these tiny fun moments alone. And I was like, I have this huge house to myself and I have not jumped on my couch once. Like, like what?
you also have hardwood floors. Do you ever just like slide around in your socks?
Now I'm going to.
Well, yeah, get some nice thick
I
socks that
remember,
you can just be like,
Chris and I, we used to do that and we were teenagers to young adults, but my parents put in this hardwood floor, part hardwood, part ceramic, and two of my sisters just sprayed Pledge on the floor. And we would just run and slide and do it. And it got to the point where it's a little dangerous and we were told to stop.
okay, well,
But
you
again,
don't have to spray the
so
pledge on
much
the floor.
well, so much of that though, like well, this is a totally different episode, but like uh how fun is an unobserved life, right? So like these little moments,
Yeah,
like so I can definitely find enjoyment and fun in my hobbies. Like when you said that Dr. Esther, what does she do for fun? I struggle with
yeah,
that because there's stuff I do that I enjoy and I definitely enjoy. I don't know that I would qualify it as fun, but kind of like that 10-year-old, I think we all have a different idea in our head of what fun is. So for me, it's my goal is to identify where is that lack and how can I fill it. Um, and so for me, the lack is kind of relationships, right? Like 2020
yeah,
really showed, we've talked about it in past episodes,
yeah.
where the friendships are, right? Like what stayed and maybe what gaps you have and what you
Mhm.
need. And so one of my goals is to figure that out. But so one of the things that has been fun for me this year, and I'm so glad you were able to join me, but celebrating these Sabbats, like they're always marked with a fire.
Yeah.
So if you're, if you don't want to get into the, oh my God, it's almost Christmas mentality of it, like the true point of the Sabbat and harvesting and stuff like that, that there's rituals around it, right? So if you want to get the
Mhm.
magic of it, um it comes from Gaelic festivals celebrating harvest, and so typically people are dancing around a fire, they're jumping around a fire, but it's a lot of it's around baking bread. Like I'm really ashamed I didn't go and make like a bouquet of baguettes to have behind me for the video, because so much of it is around baking bread, and you don't have to be like some great baker, like you can just make the most basic
I I
things.
I am not a great baker, and my sister Patty shared with Marnie and myself, my other sister Marnie, one of my other sisters, Marnie, um, this super easy bread recipe that then she shared it with us, and then all three of us made it and like shared the photos of it. That was one of the funnest things.
Oh, that's do it again,
Yeah, I
do it for
think that that
Lammas.
would be a wonderful thing to do for
But also,
llamas.
like, if you can literally break bread together, like host a
Yes.
feast or a potluck, you can refresh your altar with like wheat, corn dolls, sunflowers. So like you can decorate it with grains and other symbols of abundance.
Yeah.
But like you can, it's about the harvest. So support your local farmers, reap the local harvest. And even like we've been trying, a friend of mine, we've been trying to go strawberry picking. And unfortunately, due to both of our schedules and the heat and lack of rain, it just didn't happen. But when we checked in with the people, they're like, raspberry season's coming. So with that, I was like, I've never heard of raspberry pie, because I was going to bake like strawberry rhubarb pie and strawberry pie and stuff. But, you can make fruit preserves and jam, right? So you're both celebrating the harvest and preparing for the winter to
Yes.
come.
Well,
Um,
and you know what I love about that? Because then you can open up that jar in the middle of winter and have the memory
of
of warmer times. Yeah.
making it, of
Yeah.
it, if you're able to pick it yourself, or even just going to
Yeah.
the farmer's market to get it.
I
Um,
love it.
but yeah, and so then also, like if you are a farmer, no matter how small, you can tend to your garden, reap your own harvest, share what you have. And then like all the Sabbats, I mean, it's just spend time in nature, dance around a fire, spend time in nature. Like if you're never sure what to do or how to have a ritual, how to like be like, hey universe, like thank you for this, turn of the wheel around the sun again. Just go earthing, go hiking. And then as with everything, but especially this time of year, it's really good to make a gratitude list of all the abundance you are grateful for harvesting this season.
See, and that ties in with our last episode on abundance. I love that. I will definitely I've been um much better at my gratitude journal lately. Again, I don't know why I'm cyclical with that as well. It's like, oh, whatever, and then all of a sudden I find it, I'm like, what, why? This is the easiest thing you can do, is write down what you're grateful for. But so a gratitude journal of the abundance you've received from this harvest, like, and it could be a harvest of anything,
And then
right?
that can also help you with your goals, like of
Yeah.
acknowledging what you do have and where you are and maybe where you want to be. Um,
Yes.
you can meditate on abundance, but also like this time is also meant for celebrating yourself and celebrating community. And so I feel like if you make that gratitude list, again, you can recognize and give yourself grace, right? Like so often at the end of the year, it's all about giving to others and the hustle and bustle and another year coming to an end, and oh, what are my
Mhm.
resolutions gonna be? And so this time of year, just be like, hey, I'm awesome, and here's how and why and what I've done so far.
Everyone should make an awesome list. Hey, I'm awesome, and this is why.
Amy, how are you awesome?
Oh, I think I am awesome in that am a wonderful listener. I am a great listener for folks, but I also think I'm awesome that I can distill what I've heard and maybe hand something back to them for them to think about. But I'm also awesome that I can find joy in most things. What are you awesome at?
Well, first, I'm just going to recognize your awesomeness. I've experienced all of that from you, and I'm grateful from it. And I'd also just like to say, as our chief enthusiasm officer, you are awesome at bringing the enthusiasm not only to the show, but to all of your relationships in your life. So thank you.
Thanks.
Um, I feel like I'm a connector, and it took me a really long time to see that as something awesome and not as not receiving, right? Because sometimes when you're a connector, you're
Oh,
always connecting other
yes.
people, to other things, to other greatness. And then it's kind of like, okay, what am I? And it took me, talking with you about it to realize I'm a connector. Like there is abundance in that. And I think it is pretty
Mm-hmm.
awesome because not everybody can do that. Not everybody does recognize that or is willing to be bold enough to do that, to reach out to somebody and be like, hey, I know we just met, but I think these 3 things really tie into what you're talking about and that they'll help you in your life.
I
And oh yeah,
know.
you should also talk to this person who I've CC'd on this email. Good luck in life. Bye.
100% Tracy. I'm just going to say this is 100% Tracy.
I'm just reading my outlook to you guys. Like I didn't even make that up. That is right,
Yeah.
literally right
Yeah.
there.
Yeah.
But yeah, thank you. So do you have any plans for Lammas this year as we're talking? I know we're talking far in advance, but have you thought about it as we talk
Yeah.
more about
Yeah.
getting school
So,
and stuff busier?
just sort of, yeah, looping back to my mom, I would actually, because this would be the 2-year anniversary of her death, the 1-year anniversary, we were in major lockdown, right? So I would love to be able to um, share the day with I'd love to be able to share it with my sister who lives here, maybe some other people who live here. I don't know. And then maybe sort of tie it with maybe them knowing about it, maybe them not knowing about it, but sort of like our abundance of harvest from like having her in our life. Like that's part of it. The other part of it is I'll definitely have a fire. And you have really reignited in me that need to look at your life. What are your actual goals, Amy, besides writing that book that you don't write?
I just keep
And
thinking about when your husband asked you in one of our episodes, do you have
yeah,
goals, right?
yeah,
I have
you're
wants and
right.
desires for as much as we talk about this. Like there are certain things that I definitely have set goals for, and
You're right. They're wants and
I have wants and
desires.
desires. I haven't
Yes.
turned them into goals yet, and that takes a level of commitment and willingness to do the work that I think coming out of 2020, I just
Yeah.
wasn't there. Like I just also have to recognize this year has been a year of rest for me, right? And seeing the abundance of that, if the next year is going to be like a year of goal getting or even getting my wants and desires, I'll be thankful to have had this rest. I might feel bored and lazy now. But yeah, right now they're just wants and desires. Do I want to turn them into goals yet?
Yeah, this is and it's so funny because obviously, I mean, I know we did an episode on goals quite a while back, and I feel like I had goals for that episode, and then all of a sudden, tra la la. So we'll revisit that.
Hey, I just want to say we are now in episode 31. We have done essentially an hour a week since late last year. And
Yeah.
that's the most consistent thing I've ever done, I feel like, outside of school or like,
Right. And I think sometimes you and I, it's not that we forget it, but I think when we're talking about these things, it's very easy just to be like, oh, and tra la la, I have this podcast that we do every week.
yeah.
So,
There's so
woo,
many things that
goals.
you do that you achieve that you didn't like be like, this is a goal of mine, but like you did it because it was the work that needed to get done. That, hey, you did the work, there's still a
Yeah.
lot there and you still achieve something. So I think
Yeah.
that's the other thing I have to do is sometimes I don't think of myself as ambitious because I don't have that mindset. I'm okay if things don't happen. But I put too many goals out into the world. So it's really easy for me to be like, oh, these things that I said I was going to do, I didn't, when I'm not realizing that a lot of the stuff I do day to day and week to week is stuff most people don't do, right?
Right.
And so not acknowledging what I'm already doing and that maybe I am being too ambitious in my goals and that maybe I do, need to sit down and look at how I'm actually, like I said, how am I actually spending my time and
Yeah.
can I take from that and start putting into something else?
Yeah. I think I'm probably, when we're done with this, I will probably go upstairs with my notebook and just spend some time with myself and write down a bunch of stuff, look at the goals, and
And that's
yeah.
the hard thing for me. When we started this podcast, it was Yule 2020. So it was, just like a
Yes.
week before the winter solstice of
Yeah.
2020. And for the first 4 months of the podcast, when we finished, it was dark. And also the world was closed and you couldn't see people. And so I would spend after the show, not only like doing our post-show stuff and making sure it got up, but like reflecting on what we talked about and preparing for the next one. And then the sun came out and now it's like the show is over and I'm like, oh God, what am I doing? It's Friday night. Like I should be doing things. And then I go and try and find things to do because it's just so hard to just sit and be introspective and reflective when it's 92 degrees outside and sunny at 10 p.m. Like it's just, I don't know how people in Alaska do things like.
No, you're absolutely right. It is hard to be self-reflective when it's 92 degrees and sunny outside. You're
Right?
just like, no, I
When
need to be.
maybe it's just me, but like when the sun is out, I feel like I should be doing that. I should already have that goal in mind, and then I get caught up in myself, and when I don't.
Yeah.
So to sit down and take that time to be like, these are my goals, and this is how I'm going to achieve them. I just feel like I'm already behind. But
Oh,
so
geez.
that goes to then the universe, right? So I pulled a card.
So then the universe.
The universe. We're just gonna skip ahead. We're gonna stop with Tracy panics about what day of the week and time of the year it is.
Thank goodness it's not Thursday. Jeez.
I know it's Friday. Oh my God, what am I doing? Okay. So the card I got. So if you listen to episode 30, Abundance, so we take turns. Who's kind of like creates the overall guide or the outline for the show? Who picks the topic, things like that. So when it's your turn to be primary, we call it. You're the one that picks the card. So I prepared this show about an hour before Amy prepared our last show. Amy, so I drew my card first. In the abundance episode, Amy drew the Two of Wands, which was so perfect for that episode. Please go back and listen to hear why if you haven't already. I drew the Three of Wands. And so it's just this even more natural progression, even better than how we could have planned for this show. But so I've been called to use a different deck lately. So usually I use the Rider Waite, which is kind of like the original artwork. It's the same that Amy uses, just Amy has a little bit more bordered decal and detail to it. But I have started using the first deck I ever bought myself, which is the Deviant Moon deck. And so
Oh, that's that cool one. Yes.
so it's different art, but so in this one, for the Three of Wands, the wands are in the ground and they actually look like corn husks.
Yeah.
And the moon is shining its light directly onto it. And then there's a person there and she's just kind of like evaluating and looking at the wands. And so for me, when you look at it, it's a literal bounty to be harvested, right? And
Yes.
I didn't even notice it till now, but she's pregnant and she has an umbilical cord going into the wands. And so she's feeding the wands, right?
Wow.
She's like
Yeah.
the source of
Yes.
what's to be harvested. She's what's been putting in the
And then
energy.
what's her hood? What kind of a mask is that?
It kind of looks like some sort of lizard.
Okay.
Maybe it's green. I don't know. You guys you'll have to, this deck is gorgeous. Definitely check it out. I like this kind of art. I liked it because it's more avant-garde and a little bit different. So definitely watch this on YouTube if you're curious. And it will be on our Instagram too. It usually is.
It reminds me a little bit, not this card so much, but some of the other cards remind me almost give like a steampunk kind of vibe.
Yes, definitely.
Yeah.
But so the Two of Wands, which you did, so according to Biddy Tarot, who's kind of like my Bible for learning tarot, so the Two of Cards from last episode, speaks to the planning for the future from a place of safety and comfort. But the Three of Wands shows your plans are now well underway and you are considering even more opportunities to expand your current strategy and maximize your potential.
Wow, that speaks to us. Better get on it with that goals list there.
So to just like boil that statement down, it's about preparation, which we've kind of been doing, right?
Yeah.
So what I need to do is I need to recognize the prep I've already done and now put the drive into it. So the Three of Wands, again, from the more
Yeah.
deck, it says it stands firmly in the ground, reflecting on his commitment to his plans. So again, you've planted these seeds. What did you plant and what's left? But so it's symbolic of movement and progression. So seeing all that lies ahead, including challenges and opportunities, but then also seeing the greater opportunities into the future, which is kind of like what I said, what I'm trying to do with my reflection and just kind of seeing where I'm at. That there's more in the future that I want. I need to make that more tangible into a goal.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then also, so this time of year, we also typically for the wheel of the year, I typically don't do a tarot card. I think it's kind of cool that I did that first and it just followed yours naturally. Typically,
Yeah.
we do the Goddess Guidance Oracle cards. And so it's wheel of the year, cycle of the year. And I got Maeve, who is cycles and rhythm.
Yeah.
And so hers, it boils down to honor the cycles of your body, energy levels, and emotions. And I think,
Yeah, I love that. And that sort of ties back to what you were talking about with this time of year, and that what you like to do when it's darker and what you like to do when it's lighter and the things that you're feeling, boy. And I feel like
yeah,
it's, yeah,
so so much of the Sabbats are about the light in the sky, right? And that can
yes.
really be equated to energy for a lot of people, right? And
Hmm.
motivation and things like that. I think I just tend to flip it for myself. But so when you look at your goals, like you have like this last ditch of sunlight to grow them even bigger, right? Like it's just the last ditch of summer. Like you said, it goes till the end of September, right? Like a lot of
Yeah.
harvest can go well into October. So you still
Yes.
have time. Like what do you want to
Hmm.
keep growing? But so this message from Maeve, I'm going to read directly from the Doreen Virtue book because I think it's just so perfect for what we've been talking about. All of life is cyclical. The moon, the stars, and the very universe. Life inhales and then exhales again. So, why should you be surprised or upset that you too have cycles? There are times when you feel energized, awake, and alive. There are other times when you feel isolated and shy. Your body too goes through pronounced cycles and changes. Celebrate these rhythms and embrace them as the essence of the lifeblood that courses through you.
Wow.
So, celebrate this time, but then also remember the time is now. Okay, so with that, this summer we've taken a journey of opening up, creating and recognizing your power, manifesting what you want, and then living abundantly.
Yeah.
So, next time we chat, we'll talk about how those ingredients mixed together can help you live a more prosperous life to thrive in wealth, health, and happiness.
Nice. Very nice. Very cool. So if you thought that was cool, or if this episode spoke to your soul, please share it with a friend. And if you have time, give us some love on your preferred platform with a rate, review, and subscribe. You can also reach out to us via Instagram and YouTube under The Brightly Podcast or via email at brightlypodcast@gmail.com.
And with that, we hope you have a bright and beautiful day.
Yay.